Move a piece of furniture too hard against many American interior walls, and you may leave a dent. Hit one with something heavy enough, and you can punch through the surface. Compared with brick, masonry, or thick plaster, it can feel surprisingly fragile. So, why would millions of homes use it? Because that surface was never meant to be the main structure of the house. The framing behind it handles a different job. The panel you see is mostly an interior finish. Still, that leaves a stranger question. If plaster was harder, denser, and had worked for centuries, why did American builders abandon it for sheets of gypsum wrapped in paper? To understand why drywall won, we first have to see how much work an ordinary wall once required. Let's get into it right here on Small Things. When a wall was a skilled craft. Before large wall panels became normal, finishing an interior wall was slow, physical work. Builders fixed narrow strips of wood called lath across the framing. A plasterer pressed wet plaster over them, forcing some material through the gaps so it could grip from behind. More coats followed. Each had to be applied properly, allowed to set, and prepared for the next. The final surface depended heavily on the person holding the tools. A skilled plasterer could produce a wall that was hard, smooth, solid to the touch, and capable of lasting for decades. Plaster was not replaced because it made bad walls. In many ways, it made excellent ones. The difficulty appeared when construction sped up. As American cities expanded in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, every extra coat meant more labor, more drying time, and more waiting before the next trade could move in. A method that worked beautifully in one room became harder to scale across thousands of new buildings. The problem was not the wall. The problem was how long it took to make one. Builders needed a faster way to create the same finished surface. What if the wall arrived already made? That idea began taking shape around the turn of the 20th century. Companies experimented with wallboards that moved part of the plastering process away from the job site. The Sackett Plasterboard Company produced boards made from layers of plaster and paper. Instead of creating the entire wall surface one wet layer at a time, workers could cover a large area with something manufactured beforehand. The concept kept improving. Gypsum wallboard became more practical and standardized, and United States Gypsum later marketed its own version under a name that became famous, sheetrock. The real shift was where the work happened. Builders had once created the wall surface directly on the wall. Now a factory could manufacture most of that surface before it ever reached the house. The panel itself was simple, a gypsum core faced with heavy paper. Standard sheets were commonly about 4 feet wide, with lengths chosen to suit typical walls and ceilings. One sheet could cover a large area at once. At the job site, crews fastened the panels to the framing, taped the seams, covered them with joint compound, sanded the surface smooth, then prepared it for paint. Even the dimensions mattered. Fewer pieces meant fewer seams and fewer separate operations. The wall was becoming a component instead of a craft. But an easier method does not automatically erase one that builders and homeowners have trusted for generations. Why drywall didn't win just because it existed. Plaster had reputation on its side. Builders knew it. Skilled tradespeople had mastered it. Homeowners understood the reassuring feel of a dense plaster wall. Early wallboard could look less like progress and more like a shortcut. For a long time, being faster was not enough. Then the economics of construction began to change. Plaster still demanded several wet stages and skilled finishing. Wallboard removed much of that waiting. As labor became a larger part of building costs, the difference mattered more. Finish a room sooner, and electricians, flooring crews, cabinet installers, and painters could move in sooner too. Build one house and the saving might look modest. Repeat it across hundreds of houses and it becomes difficult to ignore. Drywall did not need to feel more luxurious than plaster. It needed to fit a process increasingly organized around time, labor, and repetition. Then came the moment when those qualities mattered on an entirely different scale. The moment America needed millions of walls. After World War II, housing demand in the United States surged. New families needed homes, suburbs expanded, and developers began building large groups of similar houses at a pace earlier builders rarely faced. At that scale, small efficiencies became enormous. Every hour saved on each house multiplied across an entire development. Drywall fit the new system remarkably well. Panels arrived in standardized sizes. Crews could repeat the same installation process from room to room and house to house. There were fewer wet stages, less waiting, and less dependence on having enough highly skilled plasterers for every project. A developer building one custom home could tolerate a slower finish. A developer building hundreds of similar homes had a strong reason to favor materials that behaved predictably from one site to the next. America was not simply building more houses. Increasingly, builders were organizing construction around repetition. Drywall did not create the suburbs by itself. Housing demand, financing, roads, land development, and other construction methods all shaped post-war growth. But it was exactly the kind of material that large-scale home building rewarded: predictable, repeatable, and quick to install. And the structure it needed to attach to was already common in American homes. The perfect partner was already inside the wall. American builders had long made extensive use of wood frame construction. Timber was widely available in many regions, relatively light, easy to cut, and quick to assemble. Those evenly spaced studs also gave drywall an ideal surface to attach to. Panels could be lifted into place and fastened directly to the framing, creating a smooth interior finish without the weight of a solid masonry wall. The cavities behind them also left room for wiring, plumbing, and insulation. That is why a hole in drywall can be misleading. When someone damages the panel, they have broken the interior skin of the wall. They have not automatically damaged the structural system carrying loads through the house. The framing and the finish perform different jobs. Wood framing and drywall suited each other unusually well. One created a lightweight skeleton, the other could close and finish it quickly. That pairing helped turn drywall from a convenient product into a natural part of a larger construction system. The gypsum inside the panel also had a useful behavior when exposed to heat. The water hidden inside a dry wall. Drywall gets its name from how it is installed, but the gypsum at its core contains water chemically bound within its crystal structure. Under intense heat, that water is gradually released as vapor. The process absorbs energy, slowing the movement of heat through the wall assembly. A material called drywall contains water at the molecular level that becomes useful when the wall gets hot. That does not make drywall fireproof. Performance depends on thickness, framing, fasteners, the number of layers, and how the entire wall or ceiling assembly is built. Manufacturers also make different boards for different conditions. Some are designed for areas where moisture is a concern. Others are used as part of fire-rated wall and ceiling assemblies. Used correctly, gypsum board can contribute to the fire resistance of the larger system around it. That added practical value to a material already winning on construction speed, but the trade-offs never disappeared. What America gave up for speed. Compared with traditional plaster, drywall is easier to dent or puncture. Ordinary gypsum board can be badly damaged by water. Joints may crack as buildings move, and making a patch disappear completely can take more skill than the repair first suggests. Plaster also offers something drywall was never designed to imitate: a dense, solid feel and the character of a hand-finished surface. Those differences reveal what each system was built to prioritize. Plaster puts more labor and craftsmanship into the finished surface itself. Drywall favors a panel that can be manufactured consistently, installed quickly, and repaired in sections when necessary. Its relative fragility even brings one practical advantage. If a section is damaged, workers can often cut it out, patch it, or replace it without rebuilding the entire wall. So the choice was never between a good wall and a bad wall. It was between two ways of making one, each shaped by different priorities. By the middle of the 20th century, those priorities had shifted toward the system drywall served best. Why Drywall won? Drywall did not replace plaster by winning every direct comparison. Its strength came from how well the pieces fit together. Factory-made panels worked with standardized construction. Standardized construction paired naturally with wood framing. That combination became especially valuable when builders repeated the same methods across entire developments. At larger scales, every hour of skilled labor removed from the process mattered more. Gypsum's fire performance added another useful quality, while specialized panels widened the situations in which it could be used. No single feature had to defeat plaster on its own. The surrounding construction system had changed enough that drywall now made more economic sense. That is why a material that can feel cheap when you knock on it became one of the defining surfaces of the American home. So, why did American builders choose drywall over harder, more traditional plaster? They changed where the work was done. Plaster belonged to a building system in which skilled workers created much of the finished surface directly on the job site. Drywall shifted more of that work into standardized manufacturing, then left crews to install and finish the panels quickly on site. The biggest innovation was not gypsum itself. It was turning part of the house into something that could be manufactured, delivered, installed, and repeated. That transformation is easy to miss because the finished result looks so ordinary. The next time you look at a plain painted wall, the interesting part may not be the surface in front of you. It is the labor, drying time, and craftsmanship that no longer had to happen there. Tell us below and subscribe to Small Things for more hidden engineering behind the smallest details.